Hi, Genevieve Jacobs from Region Media with this week's news update, which comes from the Project Independence headquarters. Project Independence, strongly supported by Aspen Medical, and one of the important groups that's grown in Canberra to give housing and access to disabled people, to give them a chance at home ownership in particular. I've got with me Natalie McConaughey, who's been at the helm for years now as the fundraising manager, but is moving on, and Di O'Hara, who's taking over as the organisation's first CEO. Natalie, it's an important anniversary. It's actually 10 years since Project Independence kicked off. Tell us the birth story, as it were.
Yes, so it was an interesting story. Our founder, Glenn Keys, who is also the owner of Aspen Medical, his son, Erin, has Down syndrome, and they were actually at a birthday party with one of Erin's friends, Reese. And Glenn was talking to Reese's father about this wonderful accommodation that Reese was living in called Ross Walker Lodge, and just saying how there was a real need for more accommodation like that for people with disability in Canberra. And so over a couple of beers, I hatched a plan to create some more. Well, David, I think, thought that was just a barbecue conversation and wouldn't hear any more of it. But the next day he got a phone call from Glenn, and Glenn said, "This is how we're going to do it." And so they set off getting together a volunteer board, and as they started to actually research into building more properties, they decided to look at whether they could turn it into a home ownership model rather than the standard rental model. And so Project Independence really was born as a unique home ownership opportunity for people with intellectual disability who actually really struggle to get on the property ladder. So our residents actually can own their own home using just their disability support pension to actually build some equity and get on that first step of the housing ladder.
And look, I've got wonderful memories of us going out to Harrison and seeing the residents there and the fantastic living model, the chooks, the garden, the sense of a real collaborative venture for all of the residents. But it's interesting to see how this has grown. So there's not only Harrison, but also Latham. Phillip is underway, and some feelers from some other areas outside the ACT. Tell me what's happening.
Yeah, absolutely. So Harrison and Latham have been operating for about 4 years now, so we know the model works and it's a successful model. Phillip, we're hoping, will kick off in the next month or so. So we've got 10 new units there, and we've got about 57 people who are on the wait list for those. So we're really, really keen to keep building more. There's a few other opportunities bubbling along in Canberra as well, but I think more excitingly is things are starting to happen interstate now, and that's why we've got to a stage where we felt we wanted to employ a chief executive officer and actually take the organisation to the next level.
Yeah, so that brings you in, Di. What a challenge, just as at the point where these things are beginning to expand outside the ACT's boundaries. Tell me what you're looking forward to in the next little while.
Yes, well, as Natalie said, that's why I was brought on. It's a great time to be the CEO of this organisation. We've had interest expressed from a range of other areas, so we've got a very active development ongoing in Frenchs Forest in Sydney. There's a lot of expressions of interest in Melbourne, so we're building up a PI entity in Melbourne as well. And so we're looking at all sorts of groups, all sorts of developments, and we think that the whole business will just really explode.
What are the challenges for you coming on as the first CEO? Because this is a step up, and I think we've seen that from what you're describing there.
I think we're really lucky because we've got really solid bones. So we've got a great board. You know, Natalie's really looked after the organisation well. So there's a really solid foundation there, and it's really just taking that to the next step. So we've now proven the model. We've got existing houses that are operating, and so now we just really want to accelerate the growth into other states. And so it's the challenges, I suppose, of a growing organisation, but with very good bones.
So it's a really exciting time to be on board. You're up for the challenge. Natalie, what is it that's so appealing about this model? Just talk us through why this has worked so well here, and as we're hearing from Di, other people are really starting to sit up and take notice.
Yeah, I think it's the fact that it's so unique. There really is no other model like it in Australia, and we think probably not internationally as well, where people who really have very minimal income are actually able to build equity and become a homeowner, and that's the great Australian dream. Everyone wants to own their own home. So people are really interested in the fact that not only does it allow home ownership, but it also means that people are moved out of social housing, for example. So, our residents, if they weren't living with us, they would be looking at social housing options, community housing. So it actually also relieves some of that burden from government, and it really is just a really unique social model.
It's one of those things that's just a good idea all round, and we're very proud at Region Media to be associated as a partner, to have a community partnership with Project Independence. Also making news on the site this week, we are talking about congestion, which is still a huge issue on Canberra's roads. The car is still king. It's got an iron grip on our motorways and our suburban roads. You can read more about that from Ian Bushnell. We've also got a story about heavy horse heaven at Yass, and the rescue of horses it's a heartbreaking tale, but also just of people's sheer goodness and just the tip of the iceberg for all the good work that organisation does. We took a look last week at the most expensive suburbs in Canberra, and this week we've got the most affordable. So hop in if you're looking in to get your foot on the first rung of home ownership. We've got the details of where those suburbs are and what you can get. And we're also talking about the Braidwood Bakery. I reckon everyone in this entire building has been to the Braidwood Bakery, and a lot more than once too. The bakery has been in the building for a long time. It's a regular pit stop for so many Canberrans heading down the coast, but they're moving. So we've got all the details. You can find out all about this and more of our deep local stories on the Riot Act. So we've got a weekly and a daily digest. Sign up for our email newsletter. It'll pop straight into your inbox and you can join in our great big Canberra conversation. I'm Genevieve Jacobs and this is Region Media.